Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us on today's session. Automate controls and improve business processes integrity to reduce risk and prevent violations. My name is Pratap Sakala, VP of Engineering here at NextLabs, and we have got an informative session for you today. Let me start off with a quick background on NextLabs. Essentially, we help you protect your sensitive data. We were founded 15 years ago in Silicon Valley, but we have since expanded our offices to include locations in Asia and Europe. Our customer list spans a number of industries, especially aerospace and defense, manufacturing, financial services, pharma, among several others. We have got a strong ecosystem of partners ranging from SAP, Siemens, and Microsoft to large global systems integrators such as Deloitte, Accenture, and Infosys. We have also partnered with organizations like NIST to help establish the standards for key data security technologies. We are living in different times these days, what with social distancing, working from home, and Zoom meetings are now part of our day-to-day lexicon. However, despite this new normal, there are some old school concepts that are as valid now as ever before. Take for an instance compliance. Many industries are subjected to slew of regulations, be it Sarbanes-Oxley or HIPAA or data privacy regulations like GDPR and CCPA. Compliance with these regulations are not going anywhere. Companies still have to show proof that they are in compliance. Secondly, all of the above has to be done with a watchful eye on the cost. Everybody is concerned about the bottom line. So any security or compliance undertaking has to take into account cost management. To effectively comply with various standards and industry regulations, businesses require integrated, cost-effective information risk management solutions that can manage access and protect data across multiple applications. These includes discovering risks, preventing compliance violations, automating procedures, and auditing data usage. And finally, you still have to constantly keep an eye out for potential risks. This can come in the form of security vulnerabilities or perhaps being in non-compliance with a particular regulatory requirement. This is made even more challenging at a time where a lot of folks are working from home, using cloud apps, tools like Zoom that may have some security holes, and of course the ubiquity of mobile devices. Essentially, there are countless vectors for bad things to happen. So that sets the stage for where NextLabs come into play. First off, NextLabs helps keep you out of trouble on the compliance front by auditing data usage and providing all the necessary logging and reporting to keep the auditors happy. At the end of the day, NextLabs helps prevent compliance violations. And increasing automation is a powerful way to streamline your compliance management programs. Doing so, you are able to decrease the cost of management dramatically. Finally, as I alluded to on the previous slide, security will still be top of mind even as we work remotely. Being able to discover risks and remediate them proactively will go a long way to keep your data safe and stay in compliance with applicable regulations. NextLab solves these problems with SAP Dynamic Authorization Management. It essentially secures access to all your sensitive SAP data throughout your network. Along the way, it helps you streamline and automate your data access processes while helping you meeting all your compliance requirements and prevent violations. At the end of the day, your data stays secure, the business remains in compliance, and your employees can safely access and share the critical data. The SAP Dynamic Authorization Management natively integrated with SAP applications. It leverages a single central policy platform to enforce fine-grained access control for secure data access, as well as to monitor and report the user activity, data usage for auditing to prevent violations, as well as to automate and streamline the business processes. With that, I'm going to pass the baton to my colleague Krishna Dubakar, who will run through a demo on automate controls and improve business processes integrity to reduce risk and prevent violations.
Hello everyone, my name is Krishna. I'll walk you through the demo summary and also the details of the demo in the coming slides. Uh, Thank you Pratap for setting up the stage. So let's take a quick look at the summary, what we're gonna demo today. So we have multiple scenarios here. We have total of 4 scenarios. Two of them are focusing on business process control, especially the access management and authorization management. And the 2 scenarios focusing mainly on internal control, kind of audit control, like segregation of duty, or approval authority limit type of scenarios. Let's take a quick look at those scenarios here. The first one is a business process control, especially the access control. So we'll be looking at material reservation document. How do you control access to material reservation using NextLabs solution? And the second scenario is authorization management, more fine-grained authorization control when people look at the data. So in this example, we'll look at the bomb explosion data. The same bomb explosion data will be visible to different people in different way. So based on their authorizations, and then how do you set those things using NextLab solution? In the last two scenarios, we'll be talking more about internal controls. Like the first one is on the approval authority. So we'll be demonstrating it using who can create a PO with what value. Like, so we have different levels people are assigned to, what we call a band, and then we will be demonstrating how we can implement such solution using NextLabs to implement the approval authority requirement. Similarly, the last scenario is on the segregation of duties. Again, it is a very important aspect in the internal control, where the same person cannot perform uh, two different key functions within a business process. So in this example, we will look at procurement to pay life cycle. So we'll start with the purchase order, and then we'll also see who can do GR and who cannot do GR. And then we'll demonstrate the segregation of duties in the particular scenario. All right, let's get started into the scenario one. Let's look at how we can use NextLabs products to implement a control in a business process. In this example, we will look at SAP material management related business processes. Specifically, we'll be looking at MRP, what we call material requirement planning. In material requirement planning, there is a key. We have a key function called reservation of a material. So basically, MRP controller they reserve materials to fulfill a specific need that's coming in the future. So that can be based on a forecasted demand, or it can also be based on existing confirmed order that needs to be fulfilled in a future date. In this reservation process, typically MRP controllers they input material. They also associate a material from a specific plan, saying that they will be reserving material in this particular plan, and they will also associate a movement type so that the material either picked up from inventory or taken from another plan. Things like that will be indicated with movement types. The control that typically business look for in this particular scenario would be that only authorized people should be able to see the reservation detail. Unauthorized people should not be allowed to see the data. The reason is if unauthorized people get to see the data, they would be able to either speculate, or they would be able to estimate or understand which materials has huge demand versus which of them do not have a huge demand. To demonstrate this particular use case wherein only authorized people can see the reservation details and unauthorized people cannot see it, we have taken two users, demo user 1 and demo user 2, and we have constructed this scenario using two different parameters, plant and movement type. Both users have they're allowed to work in the same plant. 1710 is the plant, but demo user 1 can only work with movement types 261, whereas demo user 2 can work with movement type 291. So let's take, when they try to display an existing reservation in SAP, like for example here we have taken a specific document number 1509. So this particular reservation is made for plant 1710 and it is made with movement type 261. When this particular document is being accessed by these two different users, demo user 1 should be allowed to see because he is authorized for movement type 261, whereas demo user 2 is not authorized, so he should be denied. Let's look into the system how this can be implemented easily using NextLabs solution. To demonstrate the solution, let's start the functionality in SAP first, and then I will go ahead and show the policy that's driving this particular functionality. I already logged on to SAP systems here. So I logged on to demo user 2 and demo user 1. I'm currently with demo user 2. let's try to open the specific reservation document and see what happens. As you can see, as soon as you enter the document, he gets a message down below saying access is denied for unauthorized data. This means demo user 2 do not have permission to see this particular reservation. The reason is 1509 document do not user 2 do not have movement type that is connected to the document 1509. Let's try to open the same reservation with user demo user 1. I logged on here as demo user 1. Let's try to display the same reservation here. As you can see here, demo user 1 is able to display the document with all the details in it, including material, quantities, and the dates, whereas demo user 2 is not allowed to see the document. And this whole thing is controlled with a policy in NextLabs platform. Let's take a quick look at the policy, how it looks like. So here is the policy definition. In NextLab, the policies typically have multiple important key components. One of them is a subject component, where you can define a condition on the user, whether you want the policy to be applied for all users or you want this to be applied only for some specific users. For example, you can have a policy which is relevant to regular employees, and you could have a separate policy which is very particular to, say, for example, contract employees. So you can define those things in the subject condition. Then we have a component called resource. The resource defines what is the object that is being accessed. So it could be a T code in SAP, or it could be a Fury app in SAP, or it could also be a specific attribute or a object within the T code. Like, for example, within a T code, maybe a quantity or a price could be a field. Even that can be a specific resource as well. And then we have a type of policy, whether you are defining condition to deny or whether you're writing a condition to allow. So there is a type of policy. And then we have the condition that defines the rule. So here in this example, you can see, in this example, we have written the policy specific to set of users. So you can see the list of users mentioned here. But we can also keep it open, which basically means that it is applicable for every user. And then if you look at the condition here, even though it looks little lengthy in here, but to understand this very simply, so we consider attributes from the user and we consider attributes from the resource, and then we do a match between these two. Only if they match, then user is allowed to see the document. If they do not match, then he is denied. Like, for example, in this particular scenario, we are comparing user.plant equals to resource.plant, right? And then allow. And basically we are coming two parameters here. So we have plant condition and also user.movement type equals to resource.movement type. In that way, it could be any number of parameters, not necessarily one or two. It could have multiple, and you can also combine them with different conditions like or. For example, in this particular T code, you are basing your decision based on two parameters, but maybe there could be another T code, another scenario where you have a totally different parameters to consider. Like, for example, company code, or maybe a cost center or a profit center. So you could still write all those criteria in one single policy, and whatever attributes are relevant in the particular scenario, those attributes will be considered for the policy decision. Let's look at how we can implement fine-grained access control using NextLabs solutions. So in this example, we will look at use case from Fury, which is the recommended UI of S4HANA and the new product that's coming from SAP. So in this example, we will be focusing on bill of material, which is a key component in PLM and also ECC material management processes. So bill of material is basically a definition of different component that goes into the final product, and also the association between different components and the quantities that are required to build the final product. We have in the bill of material, there is a specific functionality called bomb explosion, where you can start from a root or parent material, and you can explode the bill of material down to its lowest level. It could have multiple levels in it with nested structures in it. So that this whole expansion is called bomb explosion. In this particular scenario, we will be demonstrating how we can use NextLab product to control who can see which components in a given bomb explosion data. So to demonstrate this, we have considered multiple users. We have engineer 1 and engineer 2, and also engineer 3 and engineer 4. So engineer 1 and engineer 2, this whole process is controlled with two different attributes called status of the material or the bomb, and also the project that it belongs to. Every bomb, we have a status, either it is released or not released. If it is a released bomb, everybody can see it. There are no restrictions. Anybody and everybody can see the data once the product is released. Typically, this is what goes into NPI, new product introduction or initiation process. Until a new product is being publicly released, companies would like to keep that information very secured. That's where, until the product is not released, you have to have proper controls in place to control who can see what data. So in this example, so we have taken an example of a particular bomb which has multiple components in it, and each of the components is in fact handled by a separate project. So we have project A and project B. Some of the components in the bomb are handled in project A, and some of the components in the bomb were handled by project B. To demonstrate this, we have considered, we have assigned a project as an attribute to the user. So every user has assigned, or they have membership into projects, and the bomb itself is connected to project, and also it has status. So let's try to see how different controls can be taken care using NextLab product in this particular example. Before I demonstrate user 1, user 2, I want to quickly show the complete structure of the bomb. So the bomb is C_1240. So we have three sub-assemblies within the bomb: FG lens, FG thermal image, and spectral band. FG lens and spectral band both are assigned to project B, whereas thermal image is part of project A. So now let's log in as engineer 1. So this is engineer 1. Let's go into maintain bomb application, try to display the bomb C_1240. So before we display it, let's look into the search functionality here. As you start typing the characters, it will show up the possible values from the search. Here you can see that there are some materials with the full description of the material, but there are few materials where the material description is with star. So basically these are all masked because this particular user do not have permission to these materials. That's why they are shown in mask. Let's pick a material that he has access to. Yeah, it's infrared camera, and go into the explosion of the bomb. Yeah, as you can see, even though there are 3 total components in the bomb, he is only seeing one of them, which is thermal image. That is because thermal image is only subassembly that is assigned to project A. The other 2 subassemblies are actually part of project B. That's why he's not able to see it here. Let's quickly check from engineer 2. This is engineer 2. Try to open the same bomb. As you can see, we have field level control as well. Even though user B, engineer 2, can see the material and the corresponding other attributes, but this specific description he is not authorized to see. That's why you see it is in the mask data. Yeah, when he looks at the bomb explosion, you could see that he is seeing 2 different subassemblies when compared to engineer 1, who was only seeing one of them. this example, we will see how we can implement control in a purchasing process. So in SAP purchasing, we have a function of creating a purchase order. There are multiple ways to create a purchase order. You could start from a purchase rec and then convert to a PO, or you could create a PO directly using ME21N transaction. One of the common control companies would like to have would be to restrict the amount of the total PO value that users can create, so that only authorized people can create POs with bigger value, and also just to make sure that nobody is consuming the total budget they have there. So to demonstrate this particular control, we have simulated a scenario here using band levels. So users have different band levels assigned to them. So some users have band level B1, B2, B3. So B1 band level basically means that they are allowed to create a PO up to $10,000, up to $1,000 USD. Similarly, B2 users can create up to $10,000 USD, including 10,000. So if they create anything more than 10,000, a user belonging to band level B2, if he creates a PO more than total value more than $10,000, then system should stop him from creating the PO to begin with. To demonstrate this, I've laid out the scenario here. So there are two users here, demo user 10 and 11. User 10 has a band level of B1 and user 11 has a band level of B2. So B1 can create up to $1,000 and B2 can create up to $10,000. So we will look at multiple scenarios and see how system will behave it, and we can also and how these things can be done with the NextLab policies. Let's take a quick look into the system. I already logged into demo user 10. So let's try to create a PO with a value. Let's create a PO with value more than 1,000, and then we'll go and create something that he can do it. I'm going to create a new PO here. So I'm going to take quantity 12, and then I'm going to use net price of, let's say, 100 USD. So the total value is becoming 1210, 1,210. Okay, so the net price is only, okay, this particular product material has net price of $12. So I'm gonna increase this to 1,000 or 100. So now it will become $1,200 total price. So we can look at that. Now you can see the total value here in the conditions. The total value of the PO is $1,240. Let's just see whether now he's allowed to create such PO or not. So I'm gonna try to save here. So it says, do you want to put the document on hold because there are some, there is some faulty data in here. Let's look at the faulty data here. So you can see from the log here, it says total PO value is beyond the band level limit. So basically, this particular message is coming from NextLabs policy, where the policy is evaluating whether user is allowed to create such a PO or not based on his band. So he will not be able to save this particular PO. He can put it on hold and then come back, correct it, and save it again. But until this particular restriction is addressed, he will not be allowed to completely save the PO. So just to demonstrate, maybe let's try to change the PO quantity. Let's reduce it by, let's make it 50. So now you can see the total PO value is 620. So now let's see if he's allowed to save this particular PO. As you can see, the PO is successfully saved with the number 591. We can take a quick look at just to confirm. Yeah, the 591. The total value is $620, quantity 50, and net price $12.40. So in this way, this particular user belonging to B1, he is denied to create anything beyond $1,000. At the same time, he is allowed to create if any PO is less than 1,000. In this example, we will see one of the internal control requirement, what we call a segregation of duty. Segregation of duties is a key principle in internal control for any business process. What it basically means that in a given business process, a single person should not be doing all the key functions within the process. For example, let's say if you take a PO, but a PO as a process, business process, so you cannot have same person creating a PO and also posting a GR. So this type of controls are mainly required or put in place to make sure there is no fraud or error. And these are very critical from an internal controls point of view for different business processes in the system. So in this example, we will look at this specific scenario of PO and the GR. So to demonstrate this, I have taken two users. We have demo user 1 and demo user 2. So there are two different POs, one created by user 1 and another one created by user 2. And now we will do the GR. So at the time of GR, system should validate if there is any SOD risk. And the rule is you cannot have the same person creating a PO or changing a PO and also doing the GR. So if it is the same person, then system should actually warn him about the SOD risk that he's in the process. And then if he understands the risk and he's agreed to go ahead, he's allowed to create the GR. But he does not agree to the risk, then he will be stopped to continue to post the GR. Whereas if he tries to create a GR for a PO which is not created by him or changed by him, then it should be allowed. So there is no SOD risk there. So the system should allow him to go ahead and post the GR. Let's look at this in the system. So I already logged into demo user 1. Let's try to create a GR for one of the PO. I've taken PO 369. So this particular PO is created by demo user 1. So let me quickly show you that. So this is a purchase order report. I'm gonna display a list of purchasing documents created by demo user 1 for this particular vendor. As you can see, 369 is created by demo user 1, right? So now let's say when he tries to post the GR for this, so let's take the posting date here, and then I'm gonna confirm this particular line saying that this particular line is the goods has been received. So as you can see here, so there is a pop-up with SOD compliance. So this particular pop-up is actually coming from policy. So the NextLab policy that is evaluating the SOD risk in this particular business process. He is actually showing this particular pop-up, and it says that access is subject to SOD risk. Do you acknowledge the risk and wish to continue? So it actually warns the user about the risk, and then the user can decide whether he wants to continue or not. If he chooses to continue, yes, he will be allowed to go ahead and post GR. But if he chooses to not to continue, then he will be completely stopped. So let's take a scenario. Let's try to say no here. Then action is cancelled, and then user is completely taken out of the Migo transaction. So basically the particular transaction that he's trying to post is not committed. So the transaction is completely cancelled, and it goes out of the particular document as well. Let's try to let's also look at what happens if we try to click S in this particular scenario. Let's try to do the same thing again. I'm going to create a Migo for the same document. I'm just giving a posting date where my period is open, and then I'm going to confirm my line item with the goods. Let's try to post. So again, you have this SOD risk pop-up from the policy. So now I'm saying S to this. So I know the risk. I want to go ahead. So you can see that the GR has been posted with document 585. So in this way, if a user understands the risk, he is allowed to post the GR. So now let's take an example where demo user 1 is trying to post a GR for a PO that is created by somebody else. So let's pick a PO. Let me run that report again. I just want to look at the POs that are created by demo user 2. And for the same vendor. Yeah, so we have purchase order 370 that's created by demo user 2. So let's try to do a Migo again. So I'm gonna do from the beginning again here. So I went into Migo, I choose purchase order. I'm gonna key in my purchase order here. So this purchase order is not created by me. So I should be allowed to create this particular GR. So I'll complete my item and then let's post. Okay, so there is a posting period issue that we can quickly correct. So let me change the posting date. Okay, and then let me post it again. Okay, so as you can see, document is successfully posted. So in this particular scenario, there is no SOD risk associated with the process because the person who's doing GR is different from the person who created or changed the PO. That's why you didn't see any SOD pop up here. But whereas in the previous scenario, where the same person is doing both the key functions, then SOD risk has been shown. So just to look at how this is done in the system, so let me quickly show you the corresponding policy for this. So we have SOD check for PO and GR. So we can have similar SOD checks for multiple different scenarios in different functions like finance, manufacturing, purchasing, sales. In a different function, we could have different SOD checks, and you can define which are the transactions that you want to evaluate the SOD check. So here you mentioned Migo, and then you're saying the SOD check if it is enabled, then and the pop-up, the GRC mitigation pop-up, it's actually defined. So you can so we have control and configuration to define what should be the mechanism to inform the user, whether it is a simple SAP message like you display at the bottom of the bar, or it could be a pop-up that shows up in a separate window. So here we have chosen GRC mitigation pop-up, and that's why it shows that particular pop-up in the scenario. So in this way, NextLab product can be used to implement a lot of internal controls or GRC compliance related information very easily. And the policies, as I said, it's very generic in the sense you can apply the same policy for multiple different use cases. You don't have to create one by each policy for each scenario. You can generalize them and put into a single policy. And also it's very easy to manage the policies with audit log with the policy definitions itself. If anybody change the policies, you can see the log, and also all the transaction log, whether the SOD check, whether it is true or false, whether it is SOD related or not, all those audit is also stored in here. And there are a lot of reports which could help the internal audit team to demonstrate or prove that there was no SOD violations in a given particular business process or in a given time period. So all those functionalities are readily available out of the box, and then they are well received by many customers, especially the auditing part.
That concludes our presentation, and now we'll move on to a question and answer phase. Once again, there's a chat window. We did have some questions that were sent to us earlier. So, Krishna and Prahat, let me just pull the questions that were sent to us up.
Sure.
So, one of the questions that was sent to us will this SAP dynamic authorization still support SAP BW?
Yeah, Charles, yes, this is Pratap. Yes, the SAP Dynamic Authorization supports SAP BW. It has a seamless integration. So with SAP, now some of the BW objects now that we can easily support, such as like the info area, info providers, info objects, and we can do various things with respect to the data security in BW using SAP Dynamic Authorization.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, can we have attributes from both SAP and non-SAP systems? Policy?
Yes. Yes, Charles. So I think the attributes we could
Yes,
take
so we
from
can
SAP
have
or
the
non-SAP
attributes
as well.
spanning from both.
Sorry, could you repeat that? Krishna?
Pratap, go ahead. I
I
think you're
think we
saying something.
lost Krishna. Pratap, would you mind answering that?
Yes. Yeah, so we support attributes coming from both, multiple or SAP and non-SAP systems. So we have a seamless way of combining those attributes for the policy evaluation. So even from SAP, we can dynamically look up different ways to fetch the attributes from external sources, as well as we can directly get to the policy evaluation place, the attributes or the values from different sources. Yeah, we can have more detailed shared. Probably we can have part of the recording.
Amazing. And can the same policy be applied to both SAP ECC and S/4HANA systems?
Sure. Yes, that's the advantage or the flexibility of the NextLabs policy platform. So, being it is a central policy platform, it can support multiple SAP systems. It can be SAP ECC or S4 or BW or any non-SAP systems as well. So typically, the biggest advantage that you get with this central policy platform is, especially when you are moving from ECC to S4HANA, the security restrictions are in place at both ECC and while you roll out to S4. So you can have same policy being applied between across both ECC and S4 systems.
Okay then. Well, in that case, I think we're out of time, so thank you all for attending. If you'd love more info, please feel free to visit nextlabs.com or reach out to us at info@nextlabs.com. We will be having another webinar on October 14th. I'll be sure to send out information on that to all of you, as well as the recording of this webinar. Thank you all for attending.